Thank you for joining this special episode, this special program. We are very, very delighted here at ContentoNow to host with us Sister Pratibha Patil. Hello to you.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for doing all the way from Africa. There from being the joint principal of Brahma Kumaris in Africa, all the way to the Holy Land, to Israel. This is the first time.
This is my first time, and I'm really enjoying.
If you would share, especially in those intriguing times, one moment, Sister Pratibha, from your personal life, that you would create it as the most profound, the most moving moment of your life, what moment would it be?
I've never made any efforts of searching for God, but I have made a lot of efforts to understand faith, religion. I was born in a Hindu family, but not practicing Hinduism so much. And I was educated in a Christian school, but not understanding Christianity. I had friends from Islam background, but didn't understand any faith. But when I met the Brahma Kumaris at the age of 13, that's when I got that very deep realization. And in that, the Brahma Kumaris don't look at your age, color, nationality, but they just look at you as a being, a spiritual being.
Do you remember this unique encounter at the age of 13 that changed the course of your life?
Yes, I understand it. I mean, I remember it so fresh, as though it just happened yesterday, although it happened 49 years ago. 49 years, wow. Yes.
What exactly happened at that specific moment?
My government, I was born in Zambia, southern part of Africa, and my government was introducing national service, army training to Zambians, irrespective. So when you finish your O-levels, you go for a 6 months training, and when you go into the university for a degree, first you have to do 22 months of army training.
Okay.
And my parents were not in favor. So of course 6 months I did, but then 22 months they said, even if you're not educated, it's fine, but we won't send you at the borders. And it was, that was the time when I was not very happy because I had to stop going to school, because they were forcefully taking you to the army training. And my parents were not at all in favor.
At what age?
That was around 16.
Wow.
And so I was standing on an airport. My dad was trying to take me out of the country. Because the government locked us up from all over. If you don't have this 22 months of national service certificate, you cannot work, you cannot go to private schools, you cannot do anything. You can't go to school, university. So you're like stuck in your life. And then I was at the airport because I was trying to go to Mount Abu with my father. And
in the northern part of India.
Yes.
Rajasthan.
Rajasthan, the Aravalli Mountains range. And so when I was at the airport, this immigration officer asked for my national service certificate because he knew I was escaping the country. And I was just standing there meditating and trying what I would like to see in my life. And a phone rang in the little cabin in those days, of course. This I'm talking about 1976. And this gentleman got carried away talking to someone on the phone, whoever it is. And he signaled us that your flight is getting late, just go. And that moment, from that day, I owe my life to service. God's service, humanity's service, and I knew it was only for that.
It was a miracle.
It was.
Because there was there wasn't any chance that otherwise he would have let you go out
of the country.
Wow.
It was a miracle. And I went to Mount Abu, and I then designed my whole life differently. That I will further study in the UK. I won't go back home. And so I went to UK. My parents took me there.
Wow.
And I was about to, go to the university there. But the laws in Zambia changed. The government failed with the whole system. And they said Zambians can come back to the country.
Just a second before that, when you arrived to Rajasthan,
yes,
for the first time, you are at the age of 16. You're heading into Mount Abu. What was your experience there?
To be very honest, I've been there even before that. From the age of 13, I've been going.
Every year?
Every year.
Wow.
Even sometimes twice a year. So I have been there. But the first time when I was going,
yes,
that was at the age of 13, I had a completely different image because I've never lived in India. So I thought I was going into, a quarantine type of place where it was very strict and very close and not exposed to other places and all that. But when I arrived at Mount Abu in Pandu Bhavan, I just fell in love with the place. I felt as though I belong here.
Why exactly? What was this?
The purity, the cleanliness, the realness make me feel I belong here.
It's very, very amazing because you were at the age of 13. Very, very young.
Very young.
And also so very bright, seeing the present and seeing your future. How can you explain that you're teaching and meeting so many people around the world, in Israel, in Africa, for serving almost 50 years? And when you're meeting children at the age of 13 today, young adults, would you say that you can understand how profound are they?
I feel sorry for them because the world has completely changed from the generation I come from.
In what way?
It's become too scientific. We had science, but to a limit. So human beings were human beings, so humanness was there. And science has its own space. But now I feel science has taken over human being fully. I'm sorry, standing right in front of the camera, I'm talking about that.
In a TV studio,
yes,
digital TV studio, but using it to transform the right Raja Yoga messages.
Yes, and positive energy, which is very good. It's supposed to be that. But I think when we start using over and we abuse it, that's when it's quite damaging. And I see the damages also. So the youth now thinks if they hold the best modern phone and they speak the best .com language, they are exposed to the world. But in the time when I was growing, I think there was more of values than what you have. So it was quite different. And so the youth now, the generation now is also searching for this. They are.
Searching for going back to the purity, to the core values of mankind.
Yes, they are. But they're searching it through the eyes of science, not spirituality.
If you would share one first tool here in this conversation, one first tool for the next 13 years old child from Zimbabwe that is looking at you right now, and she's with her smartphone or down phone or any phone, and you will tell her one tool that you think she might grab from this conversation.
Yes, I would like to tell my future generation that if science is not bad, please don't take me wrong. But when we have, in India they use the word karma and dharma. Karma means action, and dharma means religion. Religion doesn't mean that you go regularly to a temple or a church or a synagogue. That's religion. Something what you have learned from there, you try to practice in your day-to-day life is called dharma, dharna. So when we have these two things together, religion and action united, harmonized, then it's perfect. So similarly, when I have science and spirituality, then we would have a correct direction in life for the future. How do I balance these two is through the power of silence. So if I can involve silence into my day-to-day life, because we have become so imbalanced and there's too much noise in our minds, in our lives, and so we get confused. So silence helps me to balance the science and the spirituality, and we can achieve a wonderful direction.
Please, as you're here in Israel, visiting Israel Brahma Kumaris, and all the wonderful team of Sharona and all the team here in Israel, how Israel is a very, very unique country.
Yes.
Silence in Israel is rarely achieved. And therefore, how would you share practically achieving this inner silence?
Yeah. You know, we did a very interesting program a couple of years ago in Kenya. Why? Because we were just approaching our presidential elections. And I think you know that in 2007, Kenya went through a very ugly, elections where they killed their brothers, one another, and displaced them. And we had so many, internally displaced camps around. And in that camp, all the tribes were living together. So who did this, Anyway, it was such an ugly one that next time when we were having the next elections, I think maybe 2011 or something like that, I might be wrong with year, a lot of people were coming to us and saying, we're very scared that we would have another ugly elections. So the Brahma Kumaris organized a project. We took it in the whole country, in every corner of the country, even war-torn areas of the country. And that project was Pause for Peace. Pause. We're not saying stop.
Pause.
Pause. So when you're watching a movie or something, an unexpected doorbell comes in, you would just pause it. You won't stop it, and you will attend to the thing and then come back and start again. So similarly, we need a couple of pauses in a day. We start the day and we drown into it where there is no margin of silence. But every few moments, I'm not saying spare special time, but if you're on the road trying to come to the office or work or whatever, and you're stuck in traffic.
Traffic jams.
Yeah. You have two ways to see it. Getting frustrated and tired of the traffic and say, oh my God, look at this Tel Aviv, look at this Nairobi, it's so traffic, and get frustrated. And use that time for that frustration and noise up here. Or just sit there. Let the traffic do its work and you step within. Just for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 1 or 2 minutes, and just look for a quiet space within yourself and feel the inner silence. And on one side, you'll be very calm. On the other side, your traffic is cleared and you've used that time in a worthwhile manner.
Let's take it one step further. You are here in a very, very hectic schedule.
Yes.
Here in Israel.
Yeah.
In Nairobi, in the United Nations,
Yes.
all over the world. How, in a hectic times, in a traffic jam, you're late to an interview or almost late to a lecture, how technically, practically, would you go into your inner self to find 30 seconds of quietness when so many traffic jams and so many hectic things are happening 1 meter from you?
Yes. You see, there are two different worlds. One is the physical world, which is called extrovert. The other one is the inner world, which is introvert. we are like tortoise. You know tortoise? They take the organs out, they walk, they eat, they do what they need to do, and then go back into the security, the safety in that little shell. We human beings don't have that ability. We just stretch, we step out, and we stretch and stretch and stretch physically and mentally. And then we break, we get tired, you know. But if we have the habit of like elastic, you know, first I go out, I do what I need to do, which is in my limitations, and then with the mind and intellect step within. Mind and intellect. So I calm my mind down. I've been sitting here in the car. I can't jump over the traffic. So first I tell myself, just calm down, and then step within. And you will create that silent state. It's very beautiful.
I'm looking for the practical practice of the word step within. When you are stepping within from the age of 13, how would you make this magic happen in your life? How would you step within?
Yeah, that's how, you know, the mind is withdrawn. You don't let it expand in thoughts. Whatever the thoughts are, I make it essence-full, and I just silent. Silence doesn't mean that you don't think. You think, but you think positive. When I was 13, not even 13, maybe 14, one time, when I come back from school, college, I tell my mom, tomorrow my schedule is this. So you wake me up, I'll get ready, I'll go to school, all that. But that fine day, I didn't tell her, I forgot. And that day it was my, you know, every month test exam. And I forgot to tell her. So she thought I can rest more. So she didn't wake me up. And I was late. Yeah. So when I was late, I got so angry with her. Why didn't you wake me up? She says, you never mentioned. So I thought, let me let you rest. I said, now I'm late. I have to write my exams. And I started crying. And she explained me, instead of using that few moments in crying, can you start getting ready, you know, and just go. So whilst I was getting ready, I was visualizing that I'm not late. So it's the process of thought pattern, what I want to see. What I don't want to see, don't let it allow in your mind. So you become the master of your mind.
You're saying you're visualizing the success, you're visualizing
that I'm on time. I'm on time. You know, although I knew I was not on time. And I rushed to the college. When I entered the classroom, my teacher told me, Pratibha, you're not late. The papers are late. So don't worry, just relax. Did you see the whole thing? So I was late according to the clock. But I was early according to the situation. And I feel maybe my thoughts created that situation. I don't know what it is. But the papers were late. You know?
That's amazing.
It is. So it is the thought pattern which I create. What I want to see. And that brings silence in the mind. But if you create a lot of negative thoughts, unnecessary thoughts, that's the noise in your mind.
By the way, Sister Pratibha, how was the exam at the age of 14 at this month?
It was so lovely. I managed really well.
That's great.
Yeah.
Another thing would be, we're living in an era, you know, Brahma Kumaris became the largest spiritual university in the world. It has centers in more than 130 countries.
Yes.
You know, when people are going to Google or to Apple or to Tesla, they wouldn't find at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning in all the countries hot tea and people that have warm eyes, as in Brahma Kumaris. Yet, the world is becoming more and more crazy.
Yes.
It's amazing how many catastrophes are happening in these intriguing times. And I'm asking you, when you are visualizing it would end for a better hope, better present, better future in this decade, the other decade, 50 years, or you think we didn't touch the bottom end yet?
We're about to. That we don't know when. But
Approximately.
We wouldn't give you a time. But what we can say is that, for example, I don't even know my lifespan. When, which moment I'll be leaving this world, or, leave this body. I don't know. But whatever time I have, let me use it in the most worthwhile manner. And so, in the midst of this storm, I am responsible to create my small little world, and that would be wonderful. I just came back from a UN conference in Abidjan, in Ivory Coast. It was combating desertification, United Nations, UNCCD. And so in that they were talking about all the situations of the world, the earth, the future generation. So much soil is being destroyed and blowing away from the earth crust. And so in maybe 30 years or 40 years, we won't have any land which is so fertile to grow anything. And so what are our generation going to eat if we don't have? So that is the one side of the world, But on the other side, so they are actually having a little tug of war between the civil society, the stakeholders, the NGOs, and the government, and high level, And so there's a lot of noise, In fact, we were in a civil society, session, and they said because the government are not supporting us with organic farming, the government should, pay to farmers to go organic farming, and it's not working because they can't feed the huge populations. We should go and make noise there, And the Brahma Kumaris don't believe in noise.
In silence.
In silence, So what we did was we got only 10 minutes of a slot in the plenary at the UN, in the high-level segment. And we took them into a meditation, a reflection. And, they loved it so much. So on one side, you have this noisy world with these arguments and problems and all that. And a lot of people commented as saying, the way you are approaching life is the correct way. It's just that they can't do it. That's another thing, But that's the only way. They did comment that way. So they understand that silence is more louder and effective than noise and sound.
Sister Pratibha, you're saying that mankind will be meeting a hopeful situation in the short time period that we're about to see it.
Yes.
Can you share with us this imaginary hopeful scene? How would it be? After the COVID and after the Corona and the Ukraine, Moscow, what is happening
Russia,
and all the elections around the world, and here in Israel, the fifth election that we were meeting at the last 3 years, and people are, sorry for the rush word, hating each other and struggling each other, as you said that you met in Kenya. So share with us, within 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, a decade, how would you think life on mankind can be?
I didn't finish my little project, Pause for Peace, so we started traveling around in the country. And in fact, we started traveling in the whole of Africa.
Wow.
I myself traveled alone to Somalia, to Mogadishu. And they asked me a question in the war-torn area and everywhere. People kept on telling me, oh, you can't go to north of Kenya. It's so war-torn and there's a lot of problems. And I took a flight we were two of us, and we went there. And we met communities, we met religious leaders, we met organization, government offices, and they asked us that, you know, our government itself is also neglecting us. And you ladies decided to come here, you know. So sweet of you, so nice of you. What is it that you want to tell us? We said we want to tell you about peace and silence. And it starts from within, not outward. Don't wait for the governments. Don't wait for your bosses. Don't wait for the organizations. Just start with your own self. And you will see so much beauty there that we will then reflect or project that inner beauty outside. And we will see the best out of the worst. And, you know, when I went to these countries, it was amazing how it was. When I arrived in Mogadishu, there was red zone and the green zone. You can only be in the green zone. It's fine, I have no problem where I can be, but I can bring my little message or my vibrations to that area also. And so in that way, this project brought a lot of beauty in the country, in the elections. I'm not saying this is the only project we did that, but even their minds, you know, transformed. That's the beauty. So whether it's UN conferences or whether it's elections or whether it's COVID, you know, I mean, I enjoyed COVID the most, 2 years, you know, it balanced my life so nicely because I used to travel so much that my traveling stopped for 2 years. I enjoyed living in a house and taking my clothes out from the wardrobe rather than from the bag, you know, eating hot food, because I always travel, so I eat cold food. So, I mean, I could see the difference between the two worlds. And I enjoyed COVID because I practiced a lot of silence, you know. So either staying and getting locked down in a house can frustrate you, or either you can make the most out of that little phase, you know. And so in the midst of whatever the situation is, can I beautify that situation through my thoughts? Underline that. Even elections, you know, if you say they're going to be very ugly, very bad, violent, this, that, we are already creating that situations in our mind. So the beauty lies in my thinking pattern, in my mind, and then we can reflect it out there.
Is there any recommendation that is working for you? For instance, in the COVID, in the elections, when you're traveling around the world, that you could lead a short meditation right now to our viewers together?
Yes, we can.
In order to let them feel their beauty, their inner silence, and to create a little change, practical change, here and now.
So we'll all sit up straight, and if you wish to close your eyes, you could do that. I'll keep my eyes open because I understand that this eyes is like a window sharing the light from inside outward and the light from outside inward. And slowly just withdraw. Let the sound around fade and step with your mind and intellect inward. Look for a quiet space within yourself and feel the calmness. Feel the silence, the power, the light within me. It's so soothing. I now travel upwards in the center of the forehead, between the two eyes, the being, the soul, situates there. It's like the mind's eye. I am not this physical body of chemicals and particles. I am beyond the consciousness of color, nationality, gender, and name. I'm just a spiritual being, a point of light, just an energy which is so positive. I am peaceful, happy, pure. I share this light with the people around me in my day-to-day life. I share this light with the world. And I see that the world is so peaceful, so calm. There is harmony between souls, nature, and living creatures, the elements on this planet Earth. There is respect. We serve one another. It's such a harmonized world. I first create that harmony within me and then share it with the world. I am a being which has harmony between my heart and my mind and intellect. The heart is emotions. Mind and intellect is logic. So where I need to use logic, I use logic. Where I need to use my emotions, I use emotions. With respect. And so I create that inner balance. And that helps the world to be balanced. Om Shanti, meaning I am a peaceful being. Thank you.
Om Shanti, and first of all, thank you for this wonderful and inspiring experience of listening how are you vibrating this inner silence from your heart, from your mind, inner and out there. It was very, very moving.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. Throughout the last part of our conversation, is there a dream, personal dream, that you would like to happen, to visualize in your personal life in these coming years?
I would like to see that can this world be free of disease, because a lot of people are suffering physically, mentally, emotionally, and in relationships. So it is said, a healthy mind gives a healthy body and a healthy society. So what we human beings are busy doing, taking care of the body. A healthy body will never give us a healthy society and a healthy mind. So rather than working from the body side, can we work from the mind side? And we will have such a lovely world, because the world is suffering. That is my dream.
It's a wonderful dream, and I hope it's going to be happening in the
Yes.
soon coming years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Brahma Kumaris, and we mentioned Sharona Silverman here in Israel, and you are the principal in Africa, the co-principal, and this Brahma Kumaris organization, university, the spiritual university, it has a leadership of very, very powerful sisters, very, very young in their soul and their body. And I would like to hear one story, one memory that you have with Daddy Janki, the late Daddy Janki.
Sure.
She was one of the founders, and she passed away a few years ago at the age of 103 and 4. It's amazing, and I had the privilege of meeting her a few times in London, also in Africa, in India. And one memory
All right.
of you, Daddy Janki, please.
Yes. You know, I used to go to UK quite often when Daddy Janki was there for meetings. And one time she asked me to go and help in London, the centres. So I was there for 3 months. This is like in the 80s. So we were invited to the inauguration of the Oxford Centre. So one brother was going to open a little centre, a branch of the Brahma Kumaris in Oxford, in his house, you know. And so he invited us. So we were about 5 of us who were traveling to Oxford. Daddy Janki was going to Oxford first time. So she asked Sister Chinti, what is Oxford? And Sister Chinti said, Daddy, Oxford is very well known for universities. Anybody who graduates from those universities are recognized in the world very much. And Daddy Janki took it in her mind. We arrived there. When you hear the word inauguration, you would visualize something very different. So here we are. We walked in the center, and the audience was only one British lady, you know, no other audience, and one organizer, the host, and 5 guests, us, you know, who were going to be speakers. Because Daddy said, you will all have to share a little bit, and then I will continue. So we were 5 of us. 4 of us were supposed to share. She did not change her idea, even if one was sitting as an audience. She would see that one as such a valuable person that it's more than 1,000. So she wouldn't change her ideas.
Wow.
So she asked us to speak. A normal human being would think, oh, there's only one audience, then let's just finish it up, you know. That was not her way. Anyway, so we all spoke, whatever inspiration we could. But I remember from her words, she said that I just came to know that Oxford is very popular for its universities. And so I wish the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University would have a branch of the university in Oxford where a lot of people would graduate spiritually and go out into the world and help the people. That was in 1985, I think, and that's it. After so many years, in 1993 or 94, I went to Oxford Retreat Centre, 94, and Daddy Janki asked me to share something, and I brought this, experience, and she remembered after I shared that Daddy, you had said that the Brahma Kumaris will have a big center here, a qualified center. And look how beautiful Oxford Retreat Center is. And it's like the spiritual university. So you did not sit and complain and say there was only one audience in here, but you just dreamt and you created visions, and look where we are sitting at the moment. And that day, the whole gathering was huge, when I was sharing. And Daddy also remembered and acknowledged it. So this is my one memory with Daddy Janki.
So very moving. And when people here and right now are all the time writing for more rating and more money and more, she was so respectful to one person that came to hear and to become a better him. Sister Pratibha Patil, I want to thank you so much, you and all the Brahma Kumaris leaders and organizations, that for being with us here at ContentoNow TV show. And I want to share all the very best and to thank you for your time, for your kindness, for your remarkable stories, for your honesty, and for this purity in this wonderful interview. I thank you very, very much.
Thank you.